Maresca speaks out as Caicedo is on the same level as Rice and Rodri. And to move on, we discuss the latest January transfer news, very surprising stories, and latest club news as well too. So my friends, I hope you guys enjoyed the news video today. Show us some love, hit that like button, and don't forget to catch yesterday's big match preview for our game tomorrow against Tottenham, where we have to secure the points at 3-point lane. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get straight into things. We start things off as Enzo Maresca is talking his talk for our upcoming game against Tottenham. One of the big things he revealed in his conference is the fact that he believes Caicedo is on the same level now as Rice and Rodri, with Maresca saying for sure now he's at that level, no doubt. Unfortunately, Rodri is injured, but Declan is playing. But I think Moses can sit at that table with that kind of midfield player, and for me that's very deserved praise for a player that has only grown and grown and grown. I think 2024 has been an incredible year for him, and the best thing about his development is the fact that he is now living up to this price tag. A price tag which mentally was kind of weighing on him, which was affecting his confidence and his faith in himself. It's great that he's been able to fully recover, and you're seeing exactly why we decided to overpay to ultimately sign one of the leading midfield players currently this season for our football club. So I can't complain. I've been critical of Caicedo in the past. I stand by what I said, but I never wrote this guy off. I knew there was more to come from him, and we're finally seeing the potential that he's always had. Not only does he rank highest for defensive output and numbers, but he's more than that workhorse style midfield player. He has a great range of passing. He kickstarts attacks. He demonstrates quality on the ball. I mean, when he's playing those passes to supply Nico Jackson, or when he's playing outside the boot through balls, through lines. And on top of that too, this guy can blast it outside the box when opportunities arise. That goal against Man United on the volley, that's the type of quality from players that can be the difference for us that is really needed. So yeah, at the moment, Caicedo is easily the first name on the team sheet and probably is arguably our best player this season, which says a lot considering the quality and form we're seeing from many players right now. Maresca revealed that he wants to give the fans a big day against Tottenham by saying, hopefully we can give our fans a big day that they will enjoy. We will prepare for the game thinking this will be a big game because it's a derby and it's Tottenham, but at the end, 3 points against Southampton, 3 points against Villa, 3 points against Spurs. The number of points are exactly the same, but we are completely aware of how important Sunday's game is. Very fair comments. If we win and secure 3 more points, it doesn't necessarily create that distance that we want to see eventually on the table. But realistically, I think the benefit of beating Spurs is the psychological advantage, because for myself, if we have a successful December, this could be the key period where we start to pull away from the rest of our rivals. Let's hope that things end amazing for us come December. Let's hope things end amazing for us come January. And for the final key point he mentioned, he said again, we are more than just Cole Palmer FC. As he says, if you remember in my first presser, I said that we cannot rely on Cole for every game. It's not correct. He has to enjoy football. But we prepared the season thinking Cole is the only solution. Then we are wrong. The only thing I can say is that since we start with the right side of Noni and Neto and the left side with Mudryk, Sancho, Enzo, Cole, Felix, Christo, the attacking players are doing well. And I think that's one of the key questions that Maresca has now answered, because if we became too reliant on Cole Palmer's brilliance, that would make the team's evolution stagnate. We can't push forwards, and tactically we become even easier to nullify and contain. The fact that other players have been empowered actually has made Cole Palmer's life easier now, because we are now finally seeing teams aren't necessarily focusing their priority on stopping Cole Palmer, because if you're doing so, you're inadvertently giving space to other quality players around him. So my friends, lots of big things said by Enzo Maresca, big things that you want to read and hear before a massive game against Spurs. And if you guys want to hear more of my thoughts against Tottenham, I can happily say that Match of the Day invite me on their football news show to discuss the preview. And if you guys want to see that for yourselves, I'm going to link that below in the comments. It's going to be in the card above as well. So show us some love and catch your boy. We start things off with a very interesting update surrounding Lecce's Patrick Dorgu. At the moment, He may be one of the most in-demand players in January, as it has been reported that us and Man United are following the player, with Man United being behind us when it comes to rankings to sign him. But on top of that, there's tons of Serie A clubs, with Napoli doing the most right now to try to engineer and secure the player. Let's see what happens, but reports in Italy mention that the player's reps prefer for him to remain in Serie A, which probably makes the most sense considering that he's only now establishing himself playing further up the field as a winger, and he's only turned 20 years old. Now, considering the depth of talent we have right now, with the fact that players like Kendrick Pires and Estefan Willian are coming next season, I think it'd be very hard for us to find the use of Dorgu right now, considering that we have a full strength team with players in great form and we have great depth in many positions right now. The player has a contract that expires in 2029 and Lecce are believed to want around 40 million euros. So this now takes me forward to Napoli, as reports mention that they're the only club right now trying to engineer an actual transfer for January, and they're believed to want to pay around 30 million euros, plus giving Lecce the option to keep Dorgu there on loan until the season ends. That could make the most sense. But on the other hand, I see exactly why a player like Dorgu is going to be on our scouting networks and radars, because he's incredibly versatile. He can play all down the left flank and the right flank, and he really complements Maresca's ideas and methods because he likes players that can play in many different positions. Who knows in the next 1 to 5 years? Because for myself, for a player like this, keep him on the radar. Just monitor him in the future. Are you maybe looking at the replacement for Augusto or Reece James? We don't know right now, but Dorgu has that type of long-term potential and quality. So in the meantime, let's assess how he does outside of us, and let's see what happens in the future. So my friends, you share your thoughts and opinions about this story. It's not the first time that Dorgu has been linked with us, so let's see what happens. We move on to discussing January news. Surprising story today coming out from Foot Mercato in France, and they reveal that West Ham are going to make a cheeky loan effort to try and entice Adarabioyo away from us in January. At the moment, they're dissatisfied with their defense. Kilman, Todibo, they haven't been living up to the promise just yet, and they're determined to strengthen in that area. Now, for me, I think this is very cheeky because we signed him on a free, but you would be crazy to think that right now we consider loaning him out, especially in this window, especially on loan. The only way you have an opportunity to try and prize him away from us is if you come with that big bucks, because I don't know, maybe it's the wrong time to mention this, but I always thought because he was signed on a free transfer, ultimately you could secure massive profit on the player because you're selling him when he's in his prime years, and he's essentially a pure profit future sell because we signed him on a free and we're only paying his wages every single year. We have talents like a Chimpong, who currently is being kind of kicked out the team right now because he hasn't committed to signing a long-term deal, even though he has another 1.5 years left on his existing contract. And we can't forget that we've signed Anselmino, but reports mention that he may be loaned out to Strasbourg for next season. Ultimately, I don't think that Maresca wants to undermine his squad. With a team like us, injuries could come at any future point that we can't see, and you don't want to undermine positions because we've seen how teams have suffered the hard way this season, most notably Man City's loss of Rodri. The only way that this story really picks up legs is if Adarabioyo decides, you know what, maybe I want to start playing week in, week out, but I can't even imagine him wanting to decide that this soon. Well, the only other way I see this happening is if this story that we're reading right now is essentially a ploy to let Tulsa know West Ham like you. And maybe this could be the gateway that opens up a conversation to maybe progress more concrete official transfer talks. Let's see what happens, but I think one thing we can't forget is that we are still very much interested in signing another centre-back for next season. So don't be surprised to see some reshuffling happening at the back. And now, my friends, we end things by discussing club news, and we start with one of the interesting stories, and that's the future currently surrounding Cesare Caicedo, because literally nearly half of Serie A is after this kid. Como, Genoa, Fiorentina, Torino, Empoli, and now Juventus are all set to target Caicedo, in this January window, and at the moment he is the favourite player to be leaving us, whether it's a loan move or a permanent move in January. So I can see why a lot of Serie A clubs like him. He's shown a lot of versatility in midfield. He can perform many different tactical roles in deeper positions, as we are seeing currently in the Conference League, and further up the field, where he has that classical number 8 style game, where he can attack the box, make late runs inside the box, great with his head, scores important goals. I think the only thing that kind of affects Caicedo's future here is that we have a player that does the same thing and is currently better than him, and his name is Andre Santos, who's showing for Strasbourg this season he might be one of the best young midfield players in Europe right now. Another reason why I see Caicedo definitely leaving us in January is because I feel like he is set to be replaced by Ugo Chukwu in the squad. Now, Ugo Chukwu currently is very frustrated with life at Southampton. He hasn't been playing. He doesn't know why, and I feel like, listen, he wants to come back. It was agreed upon in the summer that getting consistent minutes was key for him, but we can't forget that he impressed under Enzo Maresca. He picked up a lot of minutes in pre-season. We can't forget the great goal he scored against Inter Milan as well. And I do think that Maresca would be open to having a player that is traditionally more suited to playing a deeper role compared to Caicedo, and that could give us actually a different type of benefit in terms of his physicality and his height too. So let's see what happens there. To move on though, we discussed the latest around Kepa. Kepa played a phenomenal game against Spurs in their recent 1-0 win against them, so we can thank him for really ruining Spurs' confidence in time for the game tomorrow. And it seems like he is now starting to find his form, which is great for us because his contract expires in 2026, and this means that hopefully we can make some money from him, as he's currently impressing in the Premier League. Now, he was very unfortunate to not maybe engineer a move back to Real Madrid, because Lunin decided in the end to remain at Madrid and stay there, and that kind of ruined and killed off that Kepa deal. So, it's good news that Kepa is performing. Hopefully that means that there is a little bit of money we can make in time of a sale for next season. To end things with the final piece of club news, but it seems like David Washington could be set now to get a loan out in January, and all I can say to that is amen, thank God, because I kind of felt for this kid. He was signed for pretty decent money, around like 20 million euros, and he's nowhere near the first team, even though he has been impressing a lot in the PL2 and playing, of course, for the academies. He looks like he's too good for that level already, in my opinion. And I think what's really fascinating about this kid's game is that he could be molded into being like one of those complete strikers, because he shows quality when he drops deep to link the play, bring teammates into the game. He can run the channels, he can take on opponents, he can do quite a lot. He looks like a very decent player, but then you think to yourself, if he had a real possibility here, would we have decided to sign Mark Gu? And the fact that Gu is currently ahead of him in the pecking order, Maresca's giving him those Conference League minutes, is not saying much about Washington's future in the short term or even the long term right now. But I think what he needs is a loan. And reports in Brazil mention that Santos, his former club, and Flamengo are showing interest and looking to sign the player who was once seen as one of the bright young forwards coming up in the league. So I think for Washington, what he needs is a loan. I never understood why he never got a loan to Strasbourg. I don't know why that never materialized. That would have been perfect for him. Hopefully he performs well in January if he gets a loan, and the following season, fingers crossed, that turns into a Strasbourg loaner. And I say this because I think for certain players like him who have a bit of that untapped potential, does it really hurt us to just keep him on our books for another 2 years minimum before we decide what to do with him? Who knows? I thought the same thing might happen with Angelo Gabriel, but then we sold him to Saudi Arabia just like that. And I thought that maybe this kid had some talent that we could have tapped into in the future. But again, we only have one network club. If we had a few more to turn to, maybe things become a little bit different. So my friends, that's all the latest club news today. I hope you guys enjoy. Please share your thoughts and opinions below. And on that note, make sure you guys come back tomorrow for a massive match day for my stream and the reviews. And I'll catch you all soon. Cool.